NBA, from short-term contract to Bulls Dominator. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 11. In the time that followed, it took a good job for the staff of the Joint Center to repair the basket frame that was broken by Qin Yang, reinstall and remeasure the tempered glass. Everything was picked up, and it was 40 minutes later. Originally, the game was over and could have been played in the wee hours of the morning. Through Qin Yang's sabotage, it is estimated that it will be 1 o'clock in the morning after this game. But the fans did not complain, because they witnessed the rise of a powerful insider. Young man, you are quite arrogant. On the first day of entering the league, he imitated the Shark O'Neal, smashing rebounds in public. This power, in the next few years, easily swept the entire league. In 2008, there was no such thing as the small ball era. The Cosmic Brave Splash Brothers have not yet come out, and this year still belongs to the era of the big ball of positional warfare. In other words, the Phoenix Suns, playing fast-paced run-and-bomb tactics in the West, can be regarded as the prototype of the small ball era. Okay, let all the audience and friends wait for a long time, because just now China Qin's vigorous dunk, causing the basket frame to break, delaying us for some time. However, we didn't complain about China Qin for this. It's this guy who lets us witness the rise of the great insider of the new century. No matter how strong Shaq is, one day he will eventually grow old. Today's interior players are mixed. However, China, the appearance of Qin allows us to meet the era of demons that is comparable to the 90s of the last century, when the four major centers competed with each other. McBride said with a smile. Good eloquence. The words rang out, and the 20,000 fans of the United Center cheered. No one blamed Qin Yang for the broken basket. In such a hot game, even if the tickets are a little more expensive, they are happy to come and watch. In the third quarter, the game went on as usual. The staff resumes the timer and scorer, and the duel between the two teams begins again. Perhaps it was a thorough witness to Qin Yang's strength. Andrew Te, who had disdained Qin Yang earlier, was much more honest from this moment on. He was afraid that Qin Yang would give him such a blow again. Can't stand it. Fortunately, I ran fast just now, and I ran 1 second slower, and I was scratched on my face by tempered glass, which was equivalent to disfigurement. When defending Qin Yang, they all became cringeful. I'm scared. I was really scared. What kind of monster is this? On the first day of entering the NBA, I followed the example of the Sharks and smashed the basket. This matter was learned by O'Neal himself, and he had to bow to Qin Yang. His lax defense made Qin Yang feel even more comfortable. Throughout the third quarter, Qin Yang single-handedly slashed 18 points and led the Bulls to burst the Bucks. After the third quarter of the game, Qin Yang had already cut 28 points. In the first game of the NBA, he played 3 quarters and scored 28 points. The hit rate is as high as 85%, which is an efficiency value, which is simply unparalleled. Compared with those champion shows, Qin Yang's incomprehensible performance absolutely crushed them. Rose finished the third quarter with 25 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 steals, and efficiency values are also very good. But depending on who he compares, Rose's debut performance is perfect enough compared to the average player. However, compared to Qin Yang, Ross was completely exploded. Because in addition to scoring, Qin Yang also contributed 5 blocks, 13 rebounds, and 3 assists. These data are quite dazzling. It is no exaggeration to say that it is a large pair of two. In the fourth quarter, Qin Yang didn't play much. With 7 minutes left in the final quarter, head coach Vinny Dinegro replaced Qin Yang and Ross to rest. The Bucks saw that it was time to surrender. Killing people is not enough, and you can't do things too much. As the saying goes, stay on the line and meet in the future. In the NBA league, it's not just about fighting and killing, it's also about people. The Bucks, the people's Bucks, and people started directly, and all kinds of dirty actions continued. Even triggering a large-scale group fight, it will not be worth the loss. So, Vinny Dinegro is very smart. The big score was ahead, so he replaced Qin Yang and Ross to rest. In his eyes, Qin Yang and Ross have become the absolute main players of the Bulls. Looking back, he wanted to talk to General Manager Fuman. Qin's kid is very good. No matter what, he will renew Qin Yang's contract. Give Qin Yang a decent contract and leave this tough insider gate. The Bulls bench played 7 minutes on the court, and the game ended perfectly. In the end, the Bulls got off to a good start to the new season, defeating the Milwaukee Bucks 101-86. After the game, the players on both sides said goodbye. Qin Yang walked to the players' tunnel, took a bath, and went home to sleep. This plays at Atsushi, and he doesn't feel tired. After all, his maximum fitness is 130. The average NBA player is so tired that he collapses after playing the whole game, and he doesn't feel tired at all. This is the horror of Atsushi. On the theory of physical fitness alone, Qin Yang believes that Kobe is not his opponent. Oh, win! It was very easy to win. And the reason why this ball was won smoothly was entirely because we had China Qin and Derrick. You two guys, it's a nightmare for all teams in the future. Everyone was happy. Luo Erdang and Ben Gordon and Noah caught up with Qin Yang and Ross. Luo Erdang was naughty and jumped onto Qin Yang's back at once. Big Tall, my favorite is you. With you this season, I don't think it's a problem to reach the Eastern Conference Finals. Hearing Luo Erdang's words, Qin Yang smiled slightly and motioned for Luo Erdeng to get down from his back. And at the moment when Luo Erdeng came down, there was a ding, and the system prompt tone actually came. Congratulations to the host for winning the first NBA victory, with a reward achievement value of 100, and opening the system first level mall, a total of 9 levels. Also remind the host that winning 10 consecutive victories will give hidden rewards, and I hope that the host will continue to work hard to help the Chicago Bulls and win 10 consecutive victories. The system's prompt disappeared, but Qin Yang was stunned in place. Open the system store? Tier 1 system mall? Full open, a total of 9 levels? That is to say, this system mall will also be slowly upgraded over time? And what else will give yourself a hidden reward for winning 10 in a row? But what if you don't play in Chicago? This hides the reward, is it in vain? Qin Yang looked confused, the system didn't understand. He signed up for just 10 days at the Chicago Bulls. In 10 days, you will definitely not be able to play 10 games. I can't finish fighting back to back. He wanted to inquire about the system, and then he counted it. In Chicago, the Bulls can play a few games. And tonight's invincible performance, unless the Bulls owner is a sand sculpture, he will let himself go. Episode 12. While pondering, Qin Yang curiously opened the system mall. It's just a first level mall, and there must be nothing good in it. Use your thoughts to urge the system to open the mall, and a purple light flashes. In Qin Yang's consciousness, a transparent museum exhibition hall appeared. In the center of the exhibition hall, various novel items are displayed. At least for the real world, the items in the system mall are extremely rare. What is this? Sneakers? Still with ability values? Bounce and run any +3, can't overlap, or is it permanent? That is, the ability to run and bounce, can only choose the same? Qin Yang knew that this thing was similar to the Krypton gold props in the game. Bounce and run can only be set in one and cannot overlap. If you add a bounce, you will have to bounce, and if you add a run, you can no longer superimpose the bounce. Do you want to redeem achievement points? How much? Qin Yang looked at the price. Good guy, why don't you grab the system? Winning a game to earn 100 achievement points. This pair of broken sneakers costs 1200. Nima, it's too expensive to afford now. Lucky bracelet? I'll go. This cow batch, after wearing it, you can have a 30% probability of killing any opponent. 666. This bracelet is good, purple gold, very suitable for Ziyuan Dun's comic characters to wear. The key can also play the role of killing opponents. What price? I'm Nima. A broken bracelet asks for 2550. The system you sell things too expensive. The potential customer is just me, can it be cheaper? Qin Yang muttered in his consciousness while looking at the treasures in the exhibition hall. Since it is a first-class mall, there are very few items unlocked. More treasures appear in a gray color, that is, they have not yet been unlocked. You need to upgrade to a 3rd level mall, or a 4th level mall, or a 5th level mall to open it. Looking at it, Qin Yang found a treasure that was difficult to find in the world. In the 4th level mall of the system, some drugs began to be peddled. Looking at the introduction of these drugs, Qin Yang was immediately startled. There are treatments for meniscal tears, there are treatments for ligament tears, and there are treatments for Achilles tendon rupture. More rib treating. In case of bad luck being elbowed by some notorious evil man, take the medicine of the system mall, and it will work in minutes. There is one point, though. If the host wants to exchange drugs in the system mall, it must at least unlock the level 4 mall. If you can't upgrade to the 4th level mall, you can only buy some things outside your body. For example, sneakers, jerseys, lucky bracelets, various protective gear for playing basketball, etc. Of course, don't underestimate these protective gears used to play basketball, they are all with additional abilities. Neo approved my system, that is, this mall upgrade. How long will it take? The year of the monkey can only rise to the 4th level? In case of a strain, fall, or something in the body, take the drugs peddled by the system mall, and you will be alive in minutes. At that time, Lao Tzu is still afraid of injury. Qin Yang suddenly had courage again, not given to him by Liang Jingru, but by the system. Even in the face of the NBA's famous villains Artest, Big Ben, Barnes and other bad guys, they are not afraid at all. Because there is a system mall, there are god-level drugs peddled in the mall. Others are injured and are off for weeks, if not months. Injured himself, after taking the drug, get up in minutes and continue to fight. What if Nima has a torn meniscus and a ruptured Achilles tendon? There is a system escort. Qin Yang loves the super god playing system more and more. This system can be said to be the jewel that every athlete dreams of. Qin, what are you doing, silly? At this moment, Ross's shout was heard in his ears. He saw Qin Yang standing in a daze, frowning and smirking for a while, feeling particularly suspicious. Qin Yang woke up from his joy and looked at Ross, who was a head shorter than him. What a child, who fought in the league for a few years, but was ruined by injuries. What Qin Yang knew was Ross's initial major injury was a ligament tear in 2012. Then unfortunately, the meniscus tore again in 2013. 2 major injuries completely crushed this genius teenager. From averaging 25.5 points per game in the league, he is the youngest MVP in history. It fell to an average of 18 points per game and shot a measly 42%, completely reduced to a blue-collar player. After his comeback, Ross was slow to find his competitive state and gradually declined in the league. Later, Bulls management lost patience and put Rose on the shelves and traded it to the Knicks to join forces with Mel and Anthony. Since then, Ross has struggled with injuries. Gradually, he finished his calf and began his wandering journey. Cavaliers, Timberwolves, and other teams, the Rose family changed. It's a pity, it's really a pity. If Rose hadn't been injured, he would have been able to cash in on his talent with the Bulls and help the Bulls win their 7th championship since their inception. However, there are no ifs in this world, and everything that happens is a fact. However, Qin Yang's head moved. Can the drugs peddled in the system mall be exchanged for reality and then used by others? Presumably, this miracle medicine, even if it is sold to Ross at a sky-high price, he will definitely be willing to buy it. But it's cheesy to raise money. Qin Yang is not such a tacky person, cough. Since Rose has a relationship with him and is a teammate, he does have the heart to help Rose. In this traversal world, let Ross not be plagued by injuries and diseases, and realize his talents. Bring the Bulls the 7th championship trophy in history. Episode 13. Thinking of this, Qin Yang replied, I didn't think about anything, I just felt that you played more fiercely, and I have been using speed and strength to hit the basket throughout the game. If I were you, I'd try to develop my jumping ability. After all, a guard who doesn't have the ability to jump and shoot is difficult to survive in the NBA for a long time, and you can't play with your body all the time. It's okay when I'm young, I have strong functions in all aspects of my body, and I'm not easy to get hurt. And once you reach the age of 28, it gradually fades into its peak, and that's when the jump shot shows its value. Jordan, Kobe Bryant, they played hard when they were younger, and then as they got older, they were all developing their jumping ability. After Qin Yang's words, Roston was stunned in place. He didn't expect that this tall man in the East, who looked quite natural, knew quite a lot. It is said that he is a short-term worker and a little rookie. But Ross didn't think so. He detected a different side from ordinary players in Qin Yang. Paralyzed, he grinned. You are right, this kind of thing was said to me by my college coach a long time ago. The ability to jump a jump shot is really important for a defender. I will try to develop it, and thank you for reminding me. It's nothing, we're teammates, and although we can only be teammates for 10 days, I still hope that in the future, you can win the championship ring of your dreams. Qin Yang responded with a smile. Don't say that. Ross shook his head. They say you're a rookie. They say you're a short-term job that is useless, and in my eyes, you're different. Ross said positively, if you don't mind, I can help you lobby and ask Foreman to give you a decent contract, because I feel that playing with you, we may be able to win the championship. Qin Yang was stunned. Ross, this person is quite moral? On the surface, he is young and old, but in fact, he has a fiery heart and knows how to think about others. Thanks. Qin Yang thanked him. You're welcome. Ross raised his hand and patted Qin Yang's shoulder. The two then chatted idly before returning to the dressing room. Qin Yang took a shower comfortably, changed into plain clothes, and wanted to go home directly to sleep, but was stopped by a group of reporters halfway. Hi, China Qin, please wait China Qin, we want to interview you. Reporters from several media, carrying long guns and short cannons, aimed at Qin Yang one after another. Joke. Let this oriental tall man slip away easily. In this game, it is not only the dazzling debut of champion Ross, it is also a battle of the heavenly gods from the Eastern Dragon Kingdom. On your first day in the NBA, follow the example of the Sharks and smash the basket. This is big news in Chicago. The American version of the sports news, including ESPN's reporters, have blocked Qin Yang's way, and they want to interview Qin Yang in detail. There are also reporters who picked up Qin Yang's old bottom. He played earlier in the NBDL Development League and played for the Reno Bighorns. As the Reno Bighorn sheep moved to California, Qin Yang was fired by the team and returned to Chicago in embarrassment. A guy who plays for the Development League and plays this kind of dominance on the first day he enters the NBA, which has never been heard of. Journalists believe that it is the Development Alliance that does not recognize the goods. Either the management was in chaos and buried such a good basketball seedling. China Qin, we just want to ask you a question. When the 10-day short-term contract expires, will you continue to renew your contract with the Chicago Bulls? A tall Latino female reporter held up her microphone and motioned for Qin Yang to answer. Qin Yang thought for a while and said, you shouldn't ask me this question, but ask the general manager, Mr. Foreman, and he will give me a short-term contract of 10 days. Well, then China Qin, if you leave Chicago, which team would you most like to play for? Whoever gives me a decent contract, I will play for whichever team. Qin Yang said without humility. He replied on purpose, because he knows very well that these journalists are all mainstream media in the United States, and ESPN reporters are all prominently listed. Tomorrow morning, there will certainly be a big coverage. At that time, Bulls management saw the report. If he had been sincerely kept, Foreman would have come to him on his own initiative to talk. This is called passive to active. With the help of the incitement of the media, the Bulls management gave him an ideal contract. After 20 years of poverty, Qin Yang did not want to continue to be poor. Poor people can't stand up straight, they have no confidence. He wants to be rich, from this moment on. Okay, I hope to get your ideal contract as you wish. Thank you. Qin Yang thanked the Latino female reporter. After that, several Chinese media took turns to interview Qin Yang, and it was not until half an hour later that Qin Yang left the United Center Arena. Fortunately, Chicago is a big city with rich nightlife, and you can call a car even late. Qin Yang took a taxi and returned to his den. Lying on the bed, Qin Yang thought to himself, when he has a big contract in the future, he will make a lot of money. The first thing to do is buy a luxury car and a large mansion. Took his parents, who had suffered all their lives, to live in the mansion. Although, strictly speaking, Chicago's parents were not his real parents. But traveling back to this era, crossing to this city, he has no relatives, only Qin Jingshan and Zhao Yaru. And Qin Jingshan and Zhao Yaru are Qin Yang's parents in Chicago. The second old man was smuggled to Chicago in the 90s of the last century and did all kinds of hard work. Later, with the help of a white couple, legal refugee status was obtained. All these years, I have been rushing and toiling. The biggest expectation is that his son Qin Yang can find the right direction in his basketball career and make some fame. Stop being poor for a lifetime like them. If the second elder knew now, their son would have played dominance on the first day he entered the NBA, and he followed O'Neal's example of smashing the basket. How will the husband and wife feel in their hearts? Episode 14. Following. All-American Friar. When Qin Yang opened his eyes from sleep, he was woken up by a phone call. The person who called was his father Qin Jingshan. At present, Qin Jingshan works in a steel factory, working hard every day, and can earn dozens of US knives. This must also have a good relationship with the leader, otherwise some simple work will not be allowed to be done. On the phone, Qin Jingshan's tone was very excited, and he yelled, son, are you awake? Hurry up, go to the news, you're on the front page. Huh? Qin Yang was suddenly a little confused. I came back too late yesterday, and it was past 2 o'clock in the morning when I went to sleep. Confused to hear his father Qin Jingshan's roar, his brain was still in light sleep. What? I said you're on the front page, go read the newspaper. Qin Jingshan's emotions were still excited. Son, really have you? You have entered the NBA? Also follow the example of the Sharks guy who smashed the basket rack in the arena on the first day of the game? Qin Yang finally sobered up a little and blurted out, yes, Dad, I entered the NBA, but it was a short-term contract. Good son, short-term contract is short-term contract. This is also an opportunity, you must seize it. Qin Jingshan hid in the toilet, looked outside, and found that someone was coming. So he quickly said, son, I won't talk to you first, someone is coming, I'll hide in the toilet and call you, let the leader see that it's not good, first do this, wait for me to get off work, and then find you to have a good chat. Toot toot. Qin Jingshan hung up the phone. The steel mill broke the rules, and a few bastard leaders often bullied Asians and blacks. Qin Jingshan works in the factory, and he must always be on guard, otherwise he will face fire. Qin Yang rubbed his temples and opened the BlackBerry's web news. In 2008, BlackBerry and Nokia were more popular. In this era, the so-called kidney machine is still quite rare. 2G network, reading novels, chatting, browsing the web is enough. The headline on the front page of the American version of Sports Express is indeed its own top. Looking at a few pages, fans all over the United States are talking about him. In the comments below the news, many netizens are also actively discussing themselves. Several top posts said that he was a monster, and some netizens said that he was an alien and did not belong to Blue Star at all. What's more, compare yourself to a young big shark. If China Qin and Shaq meet on the court, what kind of scene will Mars hit the Earth? Meanwhile, Phoenix, O'Neal is giving an in-person interview on a show. In the 08-09 season, the Shark O'Neal came to the Phoenix Suns, joined forces with Steve Nash and Little C, a popular all-league run-and-bomb combination. Omeka. Shaq, interview you first, I'm going to show you a picture, I hope it doesn't scare you. The white man interviewing O'Neal pulled out a photo with a wicked smile. The photo was just edited and then made into the form of a PPS poster. O'Neal licked his big black lips, and the urn sounded and said, bastard. You take it out, what are you going to show me? The white man smiled slightly, handed O'Neal the clipped photo of Qin Yang's smashed basket last night. Shaq, look closely, isn't this kind of scene familiar to you? O'Neal took a look and was immediately dumbfounded. The picture in the photo is clearly the United Center Arena. The basket collapsed and the tempered glass shattered. An oriental teenager with long purple hair, domineering riding Buckle Bucks center Andrew TT. And from this photo, you can clearly see the subtle expressions of the two. Qin Yang turned around and roared violently, and Andrew TE was brutally tortured with his body. This kind of scene is very unfamiliar to others, and it is quite familiar to O'Neal, because when he was young, he often abused the players who were opposite him. Omeka, Omeka, Omeka. O'Neal was stunned and said Omeka 3 times in a row. He thought that only if he played basketball could he smash the basket rack and be so bullish. Unexpectedly, I miscalculated. A more ruthless center appeared, and he followed his lead in the NBA on the first day of smashing the basket. This kid has his own demeanor back then. My God. How is this possible? This is not a fake photo you made? Are you sure it's a real photo? O'Neal twisted a plate with a big face, which looked very funny. This guy does not become a player, but changes his career to Hollywood to act in comedy, and it is estimated that he can be very successful. Ha ha ha, the white man laughed. No, no, no. Shaq, this is not a fake photo, this is real. Just last night, a game between the Chicago Bulls and the Milwaukee Bucks. This teenager from the Eastern Dragon Kingdom joined as a short-term worker, played the first 3 quarters, played 4 or 5 minutes in the last quarter, and then cut down 28 points, 13 rebounds, 5 blocks, 3 assists of luxurious statistics. Oh. He also smashed the basket, just like you. When you were on the Magic, you smashed a basket. O'Neal? The black question mark face full of Nick Young suddenly appeared on O'Neal's big faceplate. What the heck? Is this really a thing? Oh, don't lie to me. Please say it again. What is this child? Joining the Bulls as a short-term worker? Cut 28 points, 13 rebounds, 5 blocks, and, like me, smashed the basket? This moment, after more than 10 years of fighting in the Alliance, the shark who has seen all the big scenes can't help but be messy in the wind. Is it a person or a ghost? A child from the Eastern Dragon Kingdom? Could it be that he copied his basketball genes? If not, how could there be such freaks under the sky? What O'Neal couldn't understand the most was that this kid still joined the Bulls as a short-term worker. Short-term work? These 3 words gave O'Neal a blow, and then turned into a sharp sword and nailed it to his chest. Episode 15. Such a scene does not only happen in Phoenix. Qin Yang's invincible performance caused an uproar in the United States. City of Angels, Los Angeles, Stagers Center. As always, Bryant came to the training gym to practice. When the reporters heard the news, they ran to the arena to find Kobe. Hey. Kobe, start a new day of training again? Everyone is familiar with Kobe's face, and they are very cordial when they meet and greet. Yes, training keeps me focused and combative. Kobe bowed his head slightly. Shit, you should know that losing to the Celtics last season made me miss the 4th championship, and until now, I am very angry. Second place is the biggest loser, so this season, I don't want to repeat the mistakes of the past. Several reporters smiled, knowing Kobe's damn competitive spirit. Oh. Kobe, you're right. We support the Lakers' revenge this season and their fight to take out their arch-rival green shirts. Dude, thank you for that, because that's what I thought. Bryant chatted with a few reporters. The black reporter, who was the leader, took out a video recorder from his arms. Inside is the classic picture of last night's Bulls vs Bucks. Qin Yang domineeringly slammed Andrew Te, and then dried down the basket, and the tempered glass shattered. Kobe, you should have seen this match, right? What? Bryant showed a puzzled expression. You'll know after reading it. Okay, you guys know how to sell all day. Kobe Bryant turned on the video recorder with a smile, but after reading it, the smile on his face froze rapidly. Haha. Several reporters guessed that Kobe would have such an expression. Kobe, how's it going? Have you finished reading it? Bryant. He didn't come back to his senses for a while. Then he raised his head, his deep eyes seemed to bloom, and said in a deep voice, God. Where did you get this video? Who is this guy with long purple hair? Oh my. He actually smashed the rebound. Is this young Shaq possessed? Simply incredible. Kobe, his name is Qin, he is from the Dragon Kingdom, and Yao is from the same motherland. He joined the Chicago Bulls for a short time, but he has this god-level performance. How? Are you eager to get such crazy teammates? If last season you had been around him instead of Paul, I think you could have beaten the green shirts and won the championship. Pau Gasol has always been questioned by the outside world as a soft egg. In 2008, the Lakers lost the finals. Many claimed that Gasol was blown up by Garnett and could not fight back. In the inside box, the Lakers were rubbed wildly by the Celtics on the floor. If time can be turned back, Kobe Bryant will be by Qin Yang, not the soft collapsed Gasol. In the confrontation with the Wolf King Garnett, it must be Qin Yang who taught the Wolf King to learn to be a man. Damn, this kind of problem is a pit, so I won't be fooled. Bryant shook his head and said, I admit that this guy with long purple hair aroused my intense curiosity, but Paul is my teammate and he did it right. While speaking, Bryant tentatively asked, you just said that this guy is only joining the Bulls for a short time? Yes, Kobe, 10 days to join the Bulls short term. Oh, this is an opportunity. Kobe Bryant suddenly felt compassion. 10 days short-term contract? But with such an invincible performance, did the Bulls pick up the treasure? Several, you continue to talk, I will leave first and then talk later. Kobe's mind to practice is gone, and he is going to find Jenny and Kupchak. Let's see if you can introduce the long purple-haired Dragon Country teenager to the Los Angeles Lakers through some operations. Fast forward to November 1st, 2008. Tonight, the Bulls have a game to take on the Boston Celtics on the road. On the team's special plane, Qin Yang and Ross sat together. The two drank coffee comfortably, one playing on the computer and the other reading the newspaper. Ross played computer games, and he told Qin Yang that relaxing before the game was playing games. Qin Yang, on the other hand, flipped through pages of newspapers. He's famous. Several mainstream media outlets are vying to cover him. In particular, his domineering dunk of rebounds has appeared on the front page headlines of major newspapers from time to time. It's just that Andrew Te suffered. Because every newspaper publishes this news, it will use Andrew Te as Qin Yang's background board. This product is simply miserable. Idly reading the newspaper, the team's plane landed at Boston Airport at 8 o'clock. Then take the team bus to Boston's North Shore Garden Arena, home of the Celtics. This game, Foreman and Walker followed again. The task assigned by the owner of the Bulls, Foreman did not dare to slack. In the next 10 days, he wanted to observe Qin Yang carefully. If Qin Yang plays steadily and is not the kind of nerve knife player, the Bulls will renew Qin Yang's contract before all teams. Give Qin Yang a decent contract, let Qin Yang stay in Chicago, and achieve excellent results with Ross. And tonight is a good opportunity. Playing the Bucks, to be honest, the Bucks are a little weak, and they can't accurately verify Qin Yang's true level. And tonight's schedule, the Bulls versus the Celtics. We all know that there is a fierce general in the green shirt, the Wolf King Garnett. In the real world, Garnett is an athlete who is relatively close to Atsushi Murasakibara, known from 1 defense to 5. The traverse speed and defense awareness are excellent. Qin Yang faced the Wolf King. If he could still rub the Wolf King on the floor, there would be no problem. The Bulls will immediately meet with Qin Yang and give Qin Yang a big contract. Let Qin Yang stay in Chicago and hit the championship of this season. Episode 16. Hey, guys, have you heard that a guy named China Qin has risen in the alliance? Now it's full of reports about him. In the Celtic locker room, everyone changed into their jerseys and sneakers, chatting as usual, discussing Qin Yang, who has exploded in popularity in the past 2 days. Of course I heard, it is reported that the kid is from the Dragon Kingdom? And Yao is a country. Pierce looked at Tony Allen, who had provoked the conversation. Yes, that kid is from the Dragon Kingdom. We are new to him, and he smashed the rebound on his first day in the NBA. Oh my. I can't imagine that a Dragon Country kid actually has so much power. Tony Allen thought as he glanced at Garnett, who was tying his shoelaces. Hey, K.G., you have to be careful in this game tonight, otherwise I'm afraid that guy named China Qin will kick your ass on the inside. And Perkins, you guy, it's best to be careful with that China Qin too, he plays very hard. Tonight's Bulls vs Celtics game, against Qin Yang's players, except Garnett is Perkins. Silly. You better take care of yourself. The Bulls also have a top pick, and his name is Derrick. I heard that his change of direction and breakthrough are very sharp. In case you are sprained by him and become someone's ankle terminator, don't blame me for not reminding you in advance. Garnett didn't hesitate to scare Tony Allen. You know, in the NBA league, Garnett has not been afraid of anyone when it comes to spewing trash. There was a game that year. Garnett and Anthony sprayed each other, saying that Anthony's wife was like a donut and tasted wonderful. As soon as these words came out, Anthony was so angry that the lung tube exploded. Then the two began to spray each other. In the end, Anthony was really angry, called a group of big brothers on New York Road, surrounded the Celtic bus, and had to kill Garnett on the spot. Of course, the Alliance will not stand on the sidelines of this kind of thing, and someone later intervened to mediate and calm the turmoil. At the moment, Tony Allen beeped. Garnett was quite irritated. Video of the Bulls vs Bucks match, he studied for a moment. Knowing that Qin Yang, who had just entered the Alliance, was very fierce, he almost burst Andrew Tate and beat TE to no temper. Okay, don't argue, the game hasn't started yet, there will be infighting, right? Team boss Pierce stepped up. Come on guys, let's work together to take out the Chicago Bulls. Come on. Everyone walked out of the dressing room and fished into the arena. The starting lineup on the Celtics side is Rajon Rondo, Ray Allen, Pierce, Garnett, Perkins. There is no change on the Bulls side. Ross, Ben Gordon, Roar Deng, Noah, Qin Yang. Players from both sides enter the arena and begin a simple shooting warm-up exercise. When Garnett and the others saw Qin Yang with long flowing purple hair, they all pointed at Qin Yang. There is no way. People are afraid of being famous, pigs are afraid of being strong. Qin Yang was too bright in the last game, so that tonight, it was difficult not to attract the attention of others. Oh. Shit, he's China Qin, right? It doesn't look good either. Perkins, what are you going to do with this kid from the Dragon Kingdom? Garnett set his eyes on Perkins next to him. K.G., you can leave this guy to me, I will let him be honest on the inside. Okay. Garnett nodded. Don't worry, in the entire league, no one is better than me. This kid dares to eat you alone, I will teach him to be a man. Yes. Both Perkins and Garnett laughed. They are the Eastern Conference's most powerful interior towers. Perkins aside, the green shirts are absolutely the top pillar of the box. And Garnett's traverse speed in the paint area, including the ability to assist defense, looking at the entire alliance, is also a first-class existence. He partnered with Perkins to play a rookie who was new to the league, or did he reach out and level? Qin. Your task is difficult tonight, the Celtics interior line, there are only a few in the league, you need to be careful. This time, Ross sensed that Garnett and Perkins were intentionally or unintentionally looking at Qin Yang's side. He opened his mouth to remind Qin Yang to show full combat power to deal with this difficult game. Qin Yang followed Ross's gaze and found that Garnett and Perkins were also staring at him. After fixing his mind, Qin Yang shrugged his shoulders and said indifferently, "It's okay, I often do this kind of thing when one fights two." What? In a word, it scared Ross. One fights two of this kind of thing, Qin Yang often does? In fact, Qin Yang did not brag to Ross. In Kuroko's basketball, Atsushi Zihara singles are not enough to watch a few insiders. Vulcan is big and I am powerful. He does not enter the zone field. Zuen Atsushi teaches Vulcan to be a man in minutes. Beep. Just when Ross was surprised by Qin Yang's words, the referee blew the whistle, signaling that the players of the two teams could fight for the ball. The first ball fight, Perkins originally wanted to practice with Qin Yang, but he was suddenly stopped by a big hand. It was Garnett. He said to Perkins, "You back off, let me meet this kid first, I'll play jumping ball with him." Episode 17. Garnett's move. Thousands of fans at North Shore Gardens saw it. The bench players from both teams, including the referee and commentator, were seen. The commentary of this game is Kenny Smith and the famous Flying Pig Barkley. Although Barkley signed with Turner Network, in his spare time, Fliggy will make a cameo appearance in the live commentary. Create an atmosphere. Americans explain sports events and pay attention to the atmosphere. Their kind of passionate commentary is incomparable to the commentators of the Dragon Kingdom. On the technical desk, Fliggy and Kenny Smith wore headsets and suits, like the big boss of a listed company. Flying Pig looked at Garnett, who pulled Perkins aside, and suddenly exclaimed, "Oh, what do you mean? K.G doesn't let Perkins scramble? Did he want to learn how powerful China Qin was alone?" Kenny Smith showed an intriguing smile and changed the subject. "Charles, how to talk? Remember what happened 6 years ago?" "Well," Flying Pig Barkley was stunned and said vigilantly, "Dude, you seem to have something to say?" "Haha." Kenny Smith couldn't help but laugh. "6 years ago, Yao first entered the league. You forgot a game. How did you evaluate Yao?" "You said, Yao in a game, if you can get 19 points, you kiss my shares. Of course I won't let you get away with it, and then I took a donkey to the studio, and you kissed it." Barkley. He was messy in the wind. At this moment, the heart that wants to die is there. Kenny Smith mentioned 6 years away, and Barkley felt bad. He made a bet in the studio that if Yao Ming could score 19 points in a game, he would kiss Kenny Smith's shares. How can Kenny Smith, a man as pure as Smith, want to be defiled by the Flying Pig? What happened afterwards, the majority of fans were extremely clear. In a game against the Lakers, we cut 20 points and beat the big faceplate of the Flying Pig. Kenny Smith was so bad that he went to the livestock market to rent a donkey and let Barkley kiss the donkey. Whenever I talk about this past, I believe that many Dragon Country fans are blunt. Kenny Smith continued to trap Barkley. "Charles, I heard that Qin is also a player of the Dragon Kingdom. He and Yao are a country. Let's make another bet. If this game, Qin cuts." Stop. Barkley's head suddenly grew as big as a fight. How could he not have known that Kenny Smith still wanted to tease him? "Dude, I won't bet this time. I believe that Qin's performance is definitely stronger than Yao in the rookie period. Do you dare to make this bet with me? I'll bring a donkey to the studio when I turn back, and you kiss it." No. Kenny Smith shook his head. He is not a fool, and discerning people can know it at a glance. Qin Yang's rookie performance is definitely better than Yao Ming. The explosive performance against the Bucks in the last game is the best proof of this. At this time, the ball has been jumped on the field. Garnett failed to rob Qin Yang. In terms of bouncing and stagnating, Garnett is a 32-year-old veteran, and he still wants to fight with young people? There's no denying that Garnett is powerful, but people always get old. At his peak, he didn't necessarily have the ability to challenge Qin Yang in the jumping session. All right? Dear gentlemen and ladies, the Chicago Bulls and Boston Celtics game is officially on. The first jumping ball was taken by China Qin. Just now, K.G wanted to give Qin a little color in the jumping session, but he didn't expect that he had already passed his peak. China Qin's bouncing is incomparable to K.G, and now the ball carrier is Derrick. Barkley and Kenny Smith, a pair, put away the hanging smile on their faces and began to explain seriously. Derrick dribbled to the top of the arc. The defender was Rajon Rondo, and Rondo was no better than Derrick in terms of talent. Derrick has more speed, more explosiveness. The words fell, and sure enough, Ross faced Rondo's single defense and threw Rondo away with a change of direction. Extremely fast. Rondo couldn't catch up at all. In the number 1 position, the only person whose speed can match Ross's must be less powerful. Iverson's start speed is also fast. However, Iverson became a shooting guard under the tutelage of Larry Broang, not the point guard when he first entered the league. Derrick cut into the mid-range, didn't shoot a shot. The Celtics weren't Bucks, not that good. The Celtics' joint defense in the box is aimed at a breakthrough point guard like Derrick. "Derrick, be careful, don't stick to the ball, almost broken. This ball should be passed." "Yes, pass it on to Qin, who sits on the inner line. Qin wants to catch the ball and see how he plays." Perkins didn't hesitate to face Qin at all, sticking to Qin to death. "This guy, last game against the Bucks, he smashed the rebound. I saw the news this morning and thought that Shaq guy traveled back to his youth. I didn't expect it at all that it was a young center from the Dragon Kingdom who smashed the rebound. This guy has energy in his body that we can't imagine." Oh. China Qin singled Perkins with his back. K.G is not far away, and he is always waiting for the joint defense. Perkins is a little overwhelmed in confrontation. China Qin's upper and lower limb strength is indeed very strong. Top Perkins, go straight up. Omeka. Baby, you're not playing basketball, I look like I'm playing rugby, rampaged to describe China Qin. It's not an exaggeration. As soon as the competition began, it entered a white-hot stage. Qin Yang started with a fierce fight. He knew that the look between Perkins and Garnett before the game was a little unfriendly to him. Since this is the case, there is no need for him to show weakness and pretend to be his grandson. He will hit when he should, without the slightest ambiguity. Eating Perkins in a low position, opening half of his body, Qin Yang turned around and snapped. The confrontation forced Perkins away, leaving him helpless. Garnett next to him tried to join forces, but unfortunately he was one step late. In the first round, Qin Yang won. Suddenly, North Shore Garden Arena, silent. Qin Yang's sense of power could not be seen in the newspaper. Now watching the game on the spot, you can completely appreciate the oppression that Qin Yang brings to the opposing player. Very strong, very man, very furious. Episode 18. Qin Yang ate Perkins alone with absolute strength. In terms of height, Perkins, like Qin Yang, is 208 centimeters. In terms of weight, Qin Yang was crushed by Perkins. Perkins, alias Urfut, is not comparable to Qin Yang. He is 127 kilograms, Qin Yang is only 99 kilograms, and Qin Yang loses when it comes to weight alone. But against the power, Perkins is very watery. He stared stupidly at Qin Yang, who ran back to the backfield to defend, and sweat appeared on his brain. I couldn't figure out at all, why did the Oriental boy, who looked much thinner than him, have such strong strength? Fuck. Strange, his sense of power makes me feel like I'm in the opposite shark. Perkins wrinkled his brows, his expression very serious. Garnett was serving on the bottom line when he heard Perkins muttering and grinned. Dude, are you kidding? This brat of the Dragon Kingdom, the confrontation power is comparable to Shaq? Yes. Perkins nodded. Damn, I don't believe it. Garnett shook his head and ran back to the front court to attack. KG, I can't help if you don't believe me. Offensive and defensive conversion. It was the Celtics' turn to attack. Rajon Rondo holds the ball and directs his teammates to run. Fans familiar with the green shirts know that Rondo has little physical talent, but he has a smarter brain than ordinary people. The stadium commander is definitely what describes a player like Rondo. When he first joined the league, Rondo showed a superior basketball IQ. In the twilight of his career, Rondo's ball intelligence became more sophisticated, affectionately known as Long Coach by many fans. In addition to having a super high basketball IQ, Director Long also has a pair of unusually big hands. The size and width of the palm are reported to be comparable to Jordan. This allows him to handle the ball with ease. Even the confusing operation of breaking through the penalty area fake fax casting has deceived many inside players. When the opponent felt that Rondo was going to pass, he made a fake hook and went straight up himself. The average interior player couldn't react at all, so he stole a layup. When the opponent felt that Takashi was going to make a layup, he used those big hands to make a real pass and fake shot to feed the ball to his teammates in the box. Make your teammates feel comfortable eating cakes. This is the playing style of Takashi's guidance, not relying on the body, but on the brain. It's the reading of the game and the excellent on-the-spot response. The green shirts have Rondo's tandem organization to better stimulate the offensive firepower of the Big Three. Without Long's guidance, the offensive power of the Big Three would have been reduced. This time Long guided at a 45-degree angle on the right, and Garnett tacitly proposed to block him. After the blocking, Ross failed to keep up with Long's guidance, causing the misalignment. Noah, who was in charge of defending Garnett, followed Long, who broke through. Rondo is not in a hurry and dribbles fast. He just wandered around the paint district, looking for opportunities to sneak up. Noah's defensive ability is average, but there is an iron tower Qin Yang town, and Rondo will not dare to fool around for a while. Besides, Qin Yang was too familiar with Rondo, and he liked the Celtic team before crossing. Knows Rondo's playing style inside out. Rondo wandered around and did not find a suitable sneak attack. With a fake tick, Noah was immediately fooled. Jumping high, ready to cover Rondo, who knew that it was Londo's feint. Ross in the rear followed, ready to switch defenses with Noah. However, Takashi caught a glimpse of Garnett's vacant spot with his afterlight, and immediately sent a coquettish backpass to Garnett with precision. This bells and whistles operation, without the basic skills of ball control, cannot be done. At this time, Garnett stands at a mid-distance at a 45-degree angle to the right. Receiving a pass from Rondo, Garnett did not hesitate, took a dry jumper and hit accurately. Garnett is a player who can pull out mid-range shots alone or score with his feet inside. In his career, he was complained about a slightly single offensive method. In fact, this is not to blame Garnett. He is not a particularly good player in the ball attack. Whole career more defensive. When he was young, the Wolf King could run and jump, and he could also cut points by leaning on his body on the inside. And in the twilight of the Wolf King, more use of safe methods. The so-called safe way is to try not to fight physically and play with skill. Jumpers are, of course, one of the safest and most energy-saving means of scoring. The high and low positions of Rondo and KG are coordinated, which we often see in the highlights. Playing the Bulls tonight, they are such a cooperation again. I have to say that Rondo has become more and more mature with his experience in the finals, and this pass is great. KG catches the ball, does not hesitate, decisively shoots from mid-range, and the basketball hits steadily. Flying Pig Barkley said. Kenny Smith picked up, yes, with the experience in the finals, Rondo this guy has become more and more big-pictured, and his playing style is very set, although he does not have the speed and explosiveness of Derrick. However, Rondo's advantages are also not available to Derrick. The two praised Rondo while continuing to watch the game. The Bulls served from the bottom line, and Qin Yang rushed to the penalty area, landing first and then speaking. As a big center forward, placement is the key link. If you don't fall into position, your teammates can't pass the ball to you. Qin Yang's playing style is more traditional. Refer to Leowen the Gorilla, Admiral Robinson, Abdul-Jabbar and Elijahwan the Great Dream, including O'Neal and Yao Ming, who dominate the box in the new century. These league's top centers are all in position first and then attack. Ross dribbled the ball and gave it to Qin Yang again. This time Qin Yang received the ball, and Perkins was a little numb. He felt that he might really not be able to get Qin Yang. This Dragon Country kid, looking incredible, his strength is extremely great. To hell with it. Could it be that this guy grew up eating fertilizer from snacks? How can a young man in his early 20s have such fierce strength? Episode 19. Dear friends, let's continue to watch China Qin singles Perkins in the low position. This time China Qin took the ball and did not rush to take a violent attack. On the Celtics side, K.G has been waiting for the opportunity, perhaps sensing that Perkins alone is difficult to limit China Qin's offensive firepower. China Qin still singles with the basket on his back, top Perkins, and hook the handball? Oh. Haha, this was actually a fake action, and Perkins was easily flown by China Qin. This action looks very familiar. Is it the fake hook plus dream footsteps of the big dream? Incredible. China Qin, a short-term worker, would actually use the signature stunt of big dream footsteps? Barkley and Kenny Smith were shocked beyond belief. Originally, they thought that Qin Yang was young and strong, and frequently relied on his body to eat internal opponents alone. I didn't expect that Qin Yang would still operate like this. The fake ticks are all out. The fake hook is done smoothly, that is called a handsome. Anyone who has watched Elijahwan play knows that fake hooks combined with dreamy footsteps are really handsome and have no friends. People are still very good at big dreams, and they specially set up stalls in the Alliance to teach. The price of a class, dead, is expensive. Even so, there is no shortage of junior supergiants who go to visit Demeng and let Demeng teach him unique skills. Among them, Kobe is the representative disciple. Then there are Yao Ming and James, who have made a special trip to visit Demeng and let Demeng teach him his dream steps. Of course, the premise must be to collect money, and people who do not give money cannot teach. Qin Yang had just joined the Alliance and definitely did not visit Elijahwan. And how did you learn this operation similar to dream footsteps? Could it be that this Dragon Country kid is a genius? Can you do it without a teacher? Omeka. I'm getting more and more interested in this Dragon Country kid. He's a basketball genius. Barkley's big mouth couldn't be idle again. On the court, Qin Yang added a fake hook with his footsteps to point Perkins. In front of him, there was a sea of Wang Yang, wide and boundless. With a slight lift of your hand, you can send the basketball to the basket. Garnett, who was assisting in the defense next to him, rushed over with an arrow step, preventing Qin Yang from winning easily. In the first round, he assisted in the defense one step late and was scored a goal by Qin Yang. This time, Garnett didn't do anything else, just stared at Qin Yang. K.G has an outstanding sense of defense. China Qin Dian flew Perkins, but was jointly defended by KG. Calm down. If the ball can't be shot yet, the shot will be blocked by KG. Kenny Smith spoke. In fact, Qin Yang had already sensed that Garnett was rushing over. Ordinary players do not have this reflection. Qin Yang definitely has. He activated Atsushi Shihara's physical abilities and nerve reflexes. Any wind and grass on the court could not escape Qin Yang's capture. Garnett tried to seal Qin Yang, and Qin Yang made an even more shocking move. He actually turned around for the second time and pulled away, another beautiful butterfly footstep. Thousands of fans at the scene and hundreds of millions of fans in front of the TV all saw it clearly. Qin Yang's use of footsteps did not look like dream footsteps in the strict sense. Because of Elijahwan's dreamy footsteps, they were not as fast as Qin Yang. Qin Yang's turning footsteps and pulling away his position were completed in an instant, just like dazzling meteors streaked across the night sky. In an instant, successive dots flew Perkins and Garnett. The nerve reflex sensed that this time it was safe, and Qin Yang jumped gently and sent the ball into the basket. One offensive round, teasing two. In an instant, the North Shore Garden Arena could not calm down. Boston fans exchanged ears with shock written on their faces. This is special. Is this kid a combination of Big Dream and O'Neal? It's also a little too scary. Haha, China Qin's ball is very beautiful, which reminds me of the guy who Demeng, who attacks with the ball inside, and only Demeng can play two people in a row. In this era where the number 5 position is not paid much attention, China Qin can still have such a delicate offensive skill. It is simply like a snow lotus flower on the Tianshan mountain. Let people only look at it from afar, but not desecrate. Barkley frantically praised Qin Yang. He played in the same era as Elijahwan. Know the horrors of Elijahwan better than the current players. When Qin Yang heard Barkley's approval of him, he smiled slightly and was very frivolous. Offense, it's as simple as that, just take the ball and just do it. But, with the delicate operation of bells and whistles just now, Qin Yang himself was stunned. He just subconsciously made those offensive moves through Atsushi Zun's nerve reflexability, and he didn't expect to fly Perkins and Garnett in a row. This feeling is really refreshing. Ding! Just when Qin Yang was secretly proud, a systems prompt sounded in his mind. Qin Yang was stunned, feeling that something good was coming again. Sure enough, the Super God Play system runs out again to brush the sense of existence. Congratulations to the host for comprehending a new skill in the actual attack, Meteor Footsteps. Well, Meteor Footsteps? What the heck? Not Elijahwan's dream footsteps. Your own is a Meteor Footsteps? No wonder there were fans shouting that his steps seemed faster than dreamy steps. That's why it comes from. Through Atsushi Shihara's perverted neural reflexability, he inadvertently activates a new skill, Meteor Footsteps. System, you cattle batch. Qin Yang was excited. Meteor Footsteps will dominate the NBA penalty area online in the future. Episode 20. Garnett and Perkins looked at each other, their faces green. As a figure with a head and a face in the NBA, he was teased in public by a short-term worker. How will you continue to mix in the alliance in the future? Damn, K.G. I told you a long time ago, this Dragon Country kid is very ghostly, you still don't believe it. Perkins couldn't help but burst into foul language. It's okay, I was just careless. Garnett is not only hard-headed, but also has a hard mouth. Even if he was teased by Qin Yang, he would not admit it. Don't worry. Basketball is a sport of 5 people, not 1 person. No matter how good he is, he can't play 5. The score is just 4-2. The Bulls are only 2 points ahead of us. What are you panicking? Garnett continued. Then the bottom line serves, and Takashi is responsible for the reception. As soon as he reached the top of the arc, Celtics star Pierce asked Rondo for the ball. The Greens were humiliated twice in a row by a short-term worker, and Pierce felt disgraced. He has to do something for the team to try to beat the iron-blooded morale of the green shirts. We see that the Truth takes the initiative to ask Rondo for the ball. China Chin's performance has angered the Truth. This is the North Shore Garden Arena, the world of the green shirts. According to the character of Truth, the Bulls will not be allowed to bully them unscrupulously. Barkley kept a close eye on every move on the court. Truth catches the ball, faces Roordang's single defense, holds the ball and threatens. Truth has been using tentative steps to find Roordang's defensive loopholes. The so-called ball-carrying 3 threats. It's passing, jumping, breaking. In the NBA, there are not many players who can form a 3-ball threat. At least one hard standard must be passed, and the singles ability is outstanding. Only players with outstanding singles ability can form a 3-way threat with the ball. For example, Bryant, Anthony, Iverson, Maddie, Pierce. The above superstars can form a 3-way threat with the ball no matter where they are on the pitch, or pass on, or dry jump shot, or start speed breakthrough. Enter the inside penalty area, pull the rod for a layup, dunk, sudden point containment and a series of offensive methods. To give a simple example, the singles ability is not outstanding, and others are too lazy to bird you. For example, in the 2007 finals, James was also a superstar. But there's no denying that James can't achieve the ball 3 threat. After playing 4 series with the Spurs, Popovich's weird old man was very shrewd. The restrictions on James are stunned to prevent breakthroughs and not to invest. Give you a step away for nothing, you cast. Just bet you can't make it. As a result, James really did not dare to vote, and even if he did, most of them were striking iron. The Cavaliers' 1.0 version of James, the jump shooting ability is almost hot, the ultimate big move is to break through the dunk. And Popovich seized on this weakness of James and went to death. In the end, many old fans of that series also knew. The Spurs easily swept the Cavaliers 4-0 and gave Cleveland a shaved head. The same defensive strategy Popovich used against players such as Kobe, Pierce, Maddie, and Anthony. It's not good at all. Good guys, anti-breakthrough or anti-casting. You try to cast Lao Tzu or not, you will be done. Otherwise, Popovich was interviewed by the media that year. Asked by a reporter, in the game, do you prefer to meet Kobe? Or ran into James? Mr. Bobo didn't hesitate to answer, I'd rather face 5 James than face 1 Kobe. That's the ball-carrying 3 threat of the superstar. Because the defender has no idea what the ball carrier is going to do next. At the moment, Roordang defended Pierce alone, and he looked very nervous. Always staring at Pierce, Pierce tentatively stepped forward and found that Roordang moved half a step back. Grabbing the gap, Pierce went straight to the jump shot. The figure jumps, the wrist shakes, and the auxiliary hand shooting is very standard. The basketball cuts a rainbow of arcs in the air, right in the middle of the basket. Truth Pierce. Don't ask if you need Truth to play basketball, he is the Truth. Puts it in. Truth dry jump shot, hit 2 points. The ball went hollow into the net. The Truth played the morale of the green shirts, and Roordang's defense still needs to be practiced. Because Truth singles you up, it's like kicking your ass, and you're powerless. Kenny Smith said with a smile. Pierce, who scored a 3, gestured to the audience in celebration. North Shore Gardens, a round of applause sounded. Roordang was a little annoyed, but there was no way, singles ability. Pierce was indeed very strong. Easy to fight again. The Bulls go on the offensive. It was still Ross who pushed forward with the ball, rushed in, and encountered a joint defense. The iron-blooded Green Army is not a joke, a breakthrough defender. It is quite difficult to get a bargain in front of the Green Army. Ross has no temper, and besides, Ross in his rookie period is still too tender. The green shirts are all old ball ruffians, and there are too many tricks for rookie players like Ross. Ross had no choice but to pass the ball. However, his passing route was seen through by Rondo. Rondo directly reached for the steal and confiscated Ross's pass. Oh. A little bit was not good. The pace of the game was in the hands of the Green Army, and Derrick's pass was tackled. Rondo pushed fast and counterattacked, and Ray Allen and Pierce quickly followed. Rondo dribbled the ball and passed to Junzi Ray. Junzi Lay split the button with one hand and added 2 more points to the Green Army. This attack and defense, the Celtics went from trailing by 2 points to overtaking by 2 points. The old ball ruffian is the old ball ruffian, and the play is very solid. Even if the Bulls have Qin Yang, it does not mean that they can fully grasp the outcome of the game. As Garnett said, what is the panic? Basketball is a sport for 5 people, not for 1 person. No matter how powerful a person is, he can't do a dozen or 5. It can only be said that there is an explosive seed in the team, which will not break the game. If you want to win some strong teams, you have to have the support and cooperation of your teammates.